Hey guys, this is Andrew with rockclass101.com, and in this week's ukulele lesson, we are going to be learning Havana. So this is actually one of my favorite tunes of recent years, and the reason why is because it's got such a cool Latin beat, but above all, it's got a great melody. So I'm a big fan of this tune, and what I try to do with this arrangement is keep that Latin feel intact, but throw in a tasteful array of techniques. And by tasteful array, I really mean there's a lot of technique in this tune. For example, we've got a 4-finger strum roll in the intro. We've got 2 types of backbeats that we're going to be playing, the regular chucking as well as tapping a melody note and doing a backbeat simultaneously, which is really cool, and we'll talk about how to do that in just a sec. There's a ton of hammer-ons, pull-offs. There is triplet picking at the end, which is unique to this arrangement. None of that's in the original tune. So it's a lot of fun. It's a good challenge too. So if you're looking for something more advanced and has a great melody, then this song is perfect. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about this lesson. So this lesson is going to be part 1, and in part 1 we're going to learn the first half of the tune. So if you guys want to learn the second half of the song, well, we're going to cover that in the part 2 lesson at rockclass101.com. So you guys can click this link right here, or you can go to the site and do a search for Havana. There you're going to be able to find the tabs that you can print off and follow along with, as well as access the on-screen tab viewer. So this is a really cool feature where you can hit play, you can watch the tab scroll across in real time, you can highlight bars to loop sections, slow it down to any speed you wish. Just a really great asset in learning this song that much easier. Alright, so let's go ahead and kick into this lesson. So we're going to start off with the intro. Let me go ahead and play it, and then we'll break it down and learn it. So here's what it sounds like. Alright, so we're going to tackle this intro in 2 parts. So let's split that in half because that's quite a lot. So that intro was 4 bars in length. We're going to look at the first 2. So here's what the first 2 sounds like, and try and get this rhythm stuck in your head, the melody and the rhythm stuck in your head. It's going to make it a lot easier to learn because if you can sing it, you can play it. So here's the first half. So I have bum ch da da ba da ba ba da. So that's what I'm saying. If you can sing it, you can play it. So try and get that memorized. So this intro begins with the standard staircase minor chord shape. Now most of us know this as an E minor, but if we go ahead and we move that chord shape up the neck, it becomes an A minor. So if I start out here, I have E minor, go up a half step, F minor, whole step, G minor, whole step, A minor. Now if that blew your mind, then you may want to check out this lesson on the caged method. It's all about learning how to move these basic chord shapes up the neck so that you can play them in higher voice positions and they become other chords. So this first chord, A minor, is going to be our ring finger on the 9th fret of string 3, middle finger on the 8th fret of string 2, and your index on the 7th fret of string 1. Now our G string can be open, but we're going to try to ignore it, so just try not to play the 4th string for this. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be plucking this chord, and we've got some staccato hits. So let's talk about staccato. Staccato means that it's going to be bop, bop. We're not going to sustain a note out with staccato. So let's see what that means. For example, if I pluck strings 2 and 1 and I let it ring out, you can hear it sustain. But if I apply a staccato, you hear it goes bop and cuts out. So that's all staccato is. So let me play this first part and then we'll break down how to apply the staccato to it. Okay, so go ahead and keep that A minor intact. You're going to start out by playing the 3rd string with your thumb, just that one note, and then you're going to follow it up by plucking string 2 and string 1. So you can use a 3-finger approach for this. Most people will want to use the thumb, index, and middle. So thumb, again, as we covered, gets string 3, index would get string 2, middle would get string 1. Okay, so when you pluck strings 2 and 1, you're going to gently release pressure. So go ahead and look at this hand right here. When I pluck strings 2 and 1, you see I lift up from the strings. And that's what cuts that sound, right? But when I lift up, it's not like I'm coming all the way up. When I lift up, I'm still touching the strings, because you know what happens when you touch the strings? You get that muted sound, right? But if you apply force, it creates sound. So you want to barely touch the strings. That's what creates that staccato mute that you hear. So I have 3, then pluck strings 2 and 1. After I pluck, lift up immediately, and it gives you that nice staccato, right? But don't lift all the way up. So we have 3, pluck, 3, pluck, lift up, 3, pluck, lift up. You can see from this angle, 3, pluck, lift up, 3, pluck, lift up. Okay, so there's the first hit. So we have beats 1, 2. Okay, now the next chord we're going into is going to be an F. We're going to be fingering this a little challenging or a little tricky way. So let's talk about this F chord shape. What we're going to do is we're keeping our ring finger intact. So you see the staircase shape. We have 3rd, 2nd, 1st. I'm going to lift that index finger up, and I'm going to pivot my middle finger down. So you can see that at that first knuckle, it is flat. It is bent at that first knuckle. So I have 9, 8, 8. This is my F chord. Very awkward shape, but with a little bit of practice, you can get it down. So one way to practice that hard chord change is just to go from the A minor, which is the staircase, lift the index, drop the middle flat, so it literally just pivots down. Watch how it pivots down. See how the index comes up and it pivots down in unison. So that happens together. Index lifts up, pivots down. So if you want to practice that chord change, you could do something like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. You know, so make sure that all 3 notes are ringing out. So it is hard, it is awkward, but with a little bit of time you can get it down, and it is actually very useful once you get used to doing these kind of shapes. You can play a lot of jazz songs. All right, so going into this next section, we have laying flat and plucking strings 1 and 2 twice. Now the first of those hits is a staccato, and the second is sustained. Okay, so let's backtrack and put it into context. We have, if I count out that rhythm, I have 1, 2, 3, and. Okay, so I'm hitting on beat 1, hitting on beat 2, hitting on beat 3, and. All right, so let's see if we can try that together, guys. We have 1, 2, 3, go. 1, 2, 3, and. Okay, so remember, 3rd string, staccato, staccato, sustain. Okay, again, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, now on the end of 4 is when we're going to come up, we're going to do that bar chord for E7. We've got a full bar chord shape for this one. So this means that we've got to take our index finger, lay it flat on this 7th fret, strings 1, 2, 3, and 4. Take that middle finger, put on 8 on string 3. Now, if we think about the chord change, we go from F to E7. You can see that the index comes down, ring lifts up, middle comes up 1 string. All right, now it's very vital that you understand proper form for doing bar chords. So if you're new to that, then check out this lesson on proper left-hand form. So we're coming on the end of 4. We're going to pluck this chord, and we're going to hold it out into the first beat of the next bar. So we're plucking with all 4 fingers. Each finger gets its own string. Now if I put that into the context of our timing, let's count it out once, and then you and I will try it together. So I have 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and. So that E7 catches on the end of 4. So let's give it a shot slow. 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and. Okay, let's try again. 3, 4, 1, 2, Right, and this E7 is sustaining, so none of that staccato stuff for this. So that second bar, we're holding the E7 into it. That means we're not hitting anything on the first beat. So I'm going to go ahead and play this second bar and count it out, and you can hear how that rhythm fits. So I have 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So this one, we're going to be hitting on the end of 1, so keep this E7 intact. We're going to be hitting the first string by itself on the end of 1, so I have 1 and. Now on beat 2, I'm coming down with a slap. So it's just regular chucking technique. Come down with a slap, and then I'm going to come up and pluck this chord again. So all 4 strings. So keep that pressure held down. So I have 1 and 2 and. So remember, the first beat is sustained from the last bar. So let's see if we can put that into the timing context. So you and I will try together. So we're going to be hitting on the end of 4 for that chord, so the last hit of the first bar, and playing into the first half of the second bar. So we have 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and. Awesome. Let's give it a shot again. 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and. Awesome. So let's talk about the second half of this second bar. So we're keeping the E7 pressure held down. That's going to sustain into beat 3. After that, we're going to be taking our pinky, put it on the 10th fret of string 2. We're going to play that note. That's on the end of 3. And we're going to follow that up by dropping our middle finger to the 8th fret of string 1 and pulling off to the 7th fret, which is barred. So I have, for the ending, and 4 and. So I'm playing 10, 8, 7. So again, in the context of this, if I start on the end of 4 of beat 1, or bar 1, end of 4 of bar 1, I have 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Okay, so let's give that a shot. Starting on the end of 4, 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Awesome. Now let's see if we can do bar 1 and 2 all the way through. Slowly. Here we go. 3, 4, 1, 2, 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Very good. Now bar 3 and 4 is literally the same stuff with some slight variations in it. So here's what 3 and 4 sound like, then we'll break it down. Alright, so let's go ahead and tackle that. So again, you can hear it starts the same. We're just going to put another little accent hit that wasn't in there for the first bar. So if we go back to making that staircase A minor shape, we're starting the same. We have 1 pluck, and then we're going to come back and play string 3 again. So literally, if I call it string names, I have 3, pluck 3, and then laying flat for the F twice. So we still want to put the same staccato hits. So you can see that that third hit is added to this bar. So just a little slight variation. I have 3, pluck 3, pluck, pluck. 1, 2, and 3, and. That's literally all that's happening. So we're just putting in an extra note on the end of 2. So I have 1, 2, and. So 3, pluck 3. So again, 3, staccato 3. And then lay flat for F, staccato, sustain, and then we're going back into the E7 on the end of 4. So real slow, I have 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and. Okay, so the only thing that got added is coming back and playing string 3 for the end of 2. So let's give it a shot, guys. We have 3, 4, 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and. Okay, so this bar is holding out, and the first half of it is the same as what we did before. So it was 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and. So we had the same hits where we sustain into the first beat of the bar, then we come up and we hit string 1, a slap, and a pluck. So let's give that a shot, and then we'll learn this little 4-finger roll strum. So we have 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and. Okay? So this little 4-finger strum roll, if I mute these strings, it's literally going to be like that. So you can see literally 1 finger at a time. Pinky, ring, middle, index. Just in unison. Gives it a little pizzazz over one solid strum. So if this is something that you're new to, you probably just want to take a basic chord, or you can mute the strings like I am. And you just want to practice going 1 at a time. But you don't want them to be such exaggerated distance, right? You don't want it to be boom, 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 boom. It needs to happen in succession. So just work on it slow and try to speed it up a little bit. And you can take a basic C chord like that. It sounds really cool. So it's just something that you have to work on a little bit. But the thing I'm doing with this, after I do the 4-finger strum roll, I'm coming up and I'm using the nail of my thumb to hit string 1. All of this happens on the E7 chord. So it sounds like that. And the hard part again too is to keep that pressure held down. So that's going to be hitting on the end of 3, and then you're coming up with the nail of the thumb to hit string 1 on beat 4. Now, with the rhythm and the timing, this 4-finger strum roll starts a little bit before the beat, so that's something you want to keep in mind too. So if I play this entire bar, I've got 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3. So you can hear that I come in a little bit before the end of 3. 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Okay, now let's see if we can go bar 3 and 4 together. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Awesome. Now let's see if we can do the entire intro together. So bars 1 through 4. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Awesome. So that's everything for our intro, guys. Now let's go ahead and move into the first chorus. And one thing that's important with this song that I want to point out is it had a key change. I threw in a key change. So when you're learning this first chorus, you're playing it in A minor. You're playing it down here. But when you learn the second chorus, which we're going to cover in the part 2 video lesson, you're playing the same thing, same chord shapes and everything, just down the neck, because we modulated from A minor to D minor. And that's something that we talk a lot about in detail in the part 2 lesson, why I threw a key change in there and what the use of it was. So stay tuned for that. And it's really, really cool. This is actually, I think, maybe the first tune that I've done for rock class that has a key change. Maybe. We've done a lot of lessons, so hard to keep up sometimes. Anyways, let's go ahead and jump into this chorus number 1. So here is what it sounds like. Alright, so that's the basic gist of what the first chorus sounds like. So let's go ahead and break it down. And as you can hear, it literally just repeats the same 2 bars 3 times in a row. So once you get it down 1 time, you just play it 3 times in a row. So it makes it easy. So in reality, even though this chorus is 8 bars in length, it's only 4 bars that we have to learn. So not too much work, although the 4 bars have quite a lot going on, because we have to use that technique of playing a melody note plus a backbeat at the same time. Now, if you do want to make it easier, you can cut out the percussive hits. So these backbeats, the tap backbeat that we're doing, or the chucking backbeat of the slap, you can cut all that out and you can make this a lot easier to play if you just finger pick everything. So for example, it would sound like, right? So if I just finger pick everything, then that's what I get. But it loses a bit of that oomph, right? Loses that beat. So with that said, this lesson assumes that you know how to do the tapped backbeat with the thumb as well as playing a melody note at the same time. If you don't and you've never done it before, here's an entire lesson on it. So go ahead and hit pause, check that out, learn how to do the technique, then come on back for this. Now, there's also another lesson that I have recorded too if you're new to just the simple chucking, which means that we're not playing a note at all. It cuts the sound, right? So you're just coming down doing a regular backbeat. I'm going to put that link lesson in the description box below. So if you want to check out both of them, they'll be in that description box below. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump into learning this chorus. So go back and make that A minor staircase shape. We're going to go ahead and start off this first bar. It sounds like this. Alright, so let's break that down. So we've got the staircase intact. We're going to start with a strum 3 down. So again, we're trying to ignore string 4. So we're going to strum 3 down. Then we're going to come up and hit string 1 by itself. Now all of this rhythm that we're playing is straight eighth notes. I have 1 and... Now we're going to follow that up by playing the second string. So this chord stays intact, so I'm going to play the 8th fret of the second string and tap and backbeat at the same time. So I have strum 1 tap plus string 2. So strum 1 tap. So after that, I'm going to go ahead and hit that second string one more time, but this time by itself. So I have strum 1 2 2. Remember that tap is on that first hit of 8. So I have strum 1 tap 2. Okay, so again, let's try you and I. 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and... Okay, after this, I'm going to go ahead and play this third string. And then I'm going to pivot that middle finger down just as we did before. And it's going to form that F chord. And I'm going to play string 1 just by itself. So let's see if we can tackle that. Again, it's strum 1, tap 2, 3, 1. So remember, gotta pivot down for that last hit. So that index lifts up and that middle pivots down. So let's see if you and I can try that. We have 3 and 4 and strum 1, tap 2, 3, 1. Awesome. Now on beat 4, we're gonna come down with a slap. And then we're going back to that E7 chord, but this time we're going to make it easier. We're going to remove the bar, or the full bar. It's going to be a partial bar. And it's only going to be an E chord instead of an E7. So that means that we're going to take our index, lay it flat on 7, strings 1 and 2 only, and then take your middle, put it on the 8th fret of string 3. You're going to pluck those 3 strings. So you have 3, 2, and 1 that you pluck. So we're ignoring string 4. So after we slap, we come up and we pluck string 3, 2, and 1 on the end of 4. So in context, remember all 8th notes sounds like this, guys. I have 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Alright, so let's try together. We'll slow down. Here we go. 3 and 4 and strum 1, tap 2, 3, 1, slap, pluck. Okay, if we count out the rhythms, 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Okay, one more time. 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Alright, so just as we saw last time, this E that we're hitting on the end of 4 is going to hold out into the first hit of the second bar. So we're not playing anything on beat 1, but we will be playing on the end of 1. So here's what the second bar sounds like, and I'll start it from the end of 4. Alright, so let's break that one down. So again, we'll go back to making that E chord, and let's go ahead and practice holding it out. So we're going to hit on the end of 4, and then we're going to pluck string 1 on the end of 1. So let's try that together. So we have 3 and 4 and 1, end. So all you're doing is hitting string 1 on the end of 1. 3 and 4, and 1, end. Okay, now on beat 2, we're going to take that pinky, put it on the 10th fret of string 2. You're going to play that note plus tap a backbeat at the same time. Okay, so you could probably use your middle finger, probably be the easiest one. After that, we're going to play string 1 by itself. So again, all we're doing, guys, is we're starting on the end of 1, playing string 1. Then we take that pinky, put it on 10 on string 2, plus play the backbeat. That's beat 2. And then the end of 2, we play string 1 again. So let's go ahead and try that, and we'll start on the end of 4. 3 and 4, and 1, and 2, and. So let's look at the second half of this bar. Now, we're going to do a little tricky fingering. We're going to keep this E chord intact. So go ahead and keep that partial bar and the middle finger where it is. You're going to take that ring finger, you're going to put it on 8 on string 1, and it's going to pull off to 7. So it's pulling off to the bar. After that, you're going to take that ring, put it on 10 on string 2. You're going to play that note plus tap a backbeat and slide down a whole step to 8. So watch how this fingering of the chord stays intact. The ring crams down into 8 on string 1, pull off, and then goes to 10, taps, and slides. So that chord stays intact all the way until the slide happens. Then these fingers lift up, and that will finish up the bar. So again, I have pull off, 10, 8. All right, so let's give that a shot. We have 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now this means that when we go back to repeat it, because this goes 3 times in a row, we've got to quickly transition back to A minor. So back to the staircase. So you just want to loop the ending and practice that transition, going from that slide back into the beginning of those 2-bar repeat. All right, so now let's see if we can try that entire second bar together. And again, remember, we're starting on the end of 4. So hitting the E on the end of 4 from the first bar. So here we go. 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now let's see if we can go bar 1 through 2 together. So we have 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Awesome. So guys, remember, that's just going to loop 3 times in a row. So once you get it down, you're just going to repeat it 3 times. So let's take a look at the last 2 bars that end this. So this is bars 7 and 8 for the chorus. And here's what it sounds like. All right, so that's a lot. Let's break it down. The first bar, so just 7 by itself, sounds like this. Okay, so we're kicking off with the A minor. We're going to go strum 2, and then we're going to tap. This time our tap is all by itself, so nothing we're playing at the same time. We're going to follow that up by playing string 1. So we've got strum 2, tap 1. Okay, let's give that a shot. 3, 4, strum 2, tap 1. Okay, now the second half, you can take that pinky, put it on 10 on string 2. You're going to play that note, then string 1, and then we're going to play 10 again on string 2, but we're going to tap this time. We're going to pull off to the 8. So that's our middle finger. So this chord shape just literally stays intact the entire time. So we're just keeping this A minor intact. We're not switching over to F. So again, the second half, we start with the pinky on 10 on string 2, play string 1. Again, back to 10 on 2, tap as well, and pull off to 8. So let's try the second half. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Okay, let's see if we can do the full bar together. Here we go. 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Okay, now when you're playing real fast, sometimes I just cut out the pull off, so you can just kind of end on that tap plus the 10, so you end on beat 4. And that'll buy you a little bit more time to switch over to the E chord for the last bar, which sounds like that. Alright guys, so go ahead and make that E chord. This time around we're plucking 3 and 1 together. Then we're going to come up, we're going to play string 2. Follow that up by a tap, and the tap is all by itself. And then we're going to take this ring, we're going to cram it underneath the middle finger, and we're going to play string 2. So it's the 8th fret. Remember, this rhythm stays constant throughout the entire chorus. The chorus is straight 8th notes throughout, so keep that in mind as you're playing through all of this, that nothing changes rhythmically speaking. We have 1 and 2, and so again, 3 and 1, string 2, tap, and then take that ring, put it on 8 on string 2. Now what happens here is we're literally going to be going up and down with the ring finger. So we're playing 8, 7, 8, 7. That's literally what's happening. Down, up, down, up. So it's really hard because you've got to cram that finger in there. So it's harder for me, you know, having adult-sized fingers to, you know, get those notes to ring out. So don't get frustrated if it's really hard. Just keep working on it. One thing that I found is that if I pivot this partial bar for the E chord to the side a little bit, it helps me fit in there a little bit better. So kind of just experiment with sliding this a little bit to the left. So again, we have 3 and 1 together, 2, tap, 8. That's the first half. Now let's see if we can try that, then we'll learn the second half. 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and... Okay, now the second half, lift the ring up. You have 7, put it back down, 8, lift it up, 7 again, plus tap, and then slide to 5 with that index finger. So these other 2 fingers lift up. So that second half of this bar sounds like this. You have 7, 8, 7, 5. Okay, so let's give that a shot. So again, we play all on string 2. 7, 8, 7 plus tap, slide to 5. Okay, let's give that a shot together in time. 3, whoops, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... Alright, now this is really important too to point out, when you're sliding to 5, if you're playing this song at a slower tempo, then you can slide to 5. If you're playing this song at like the performance tempo that I did it at, which is on par with the record speed, then you're not really caring about sliding accurately to 5, because you've got to slide down, or you've got to move your hand down to catch the next section. Right, so if we slide to 5 and then we have to do this super quick jump, it's just going to be really weird for timing. So when you're playing it at a quicker tempo, let me go ahead and show you that bar going into the verse. You can see that my slide just kind of fades out, and I catch that A minor at the beginning of the neck. So that's something that you want to keep in mind too. If you're playing it faster, you don't have to stop on 5 and then go to A minor. You can kind of just slide down and let you lift up as you get to about 5 or 4. And then it just transitions to the A minor. So something to keep in mind. So let's see if we can try bar 4 by itself. So here we go. 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... Okay, and let's see if we can try these last 2 bars by itself. So it's technically bar 7 and 8, even though I called it bar 4. Here we go. 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... Awesome. Now let's see if we can go through the entire chorus. We're not going to repeat that section 3 times. We're just going to play it straight through, so we're only going to play 4 bars. So here we go. 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 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 3 and 4 and... Awesome. All right, let's take a look at the verse. All right, guys, so the verse has some repetition in it. So the first couple bars actually are going to repeat twice in a row. So once you get it down once, you're just going to play it again. So that's nice and easy. But it does have some tricky stuff. We've got some percussive taps on the ukulele body that we've got to incorporate. Really cool, but a little tricky. Plus we've got some tapped harmonics that we're going to throw in there too. So let me go ahead and just play through this first part of the verse and then we'll break it down. Here's what it sounds like. All right, so that's the first part. Remember, that part's just going to loop twice. So that's what we're going to tackle first. So the first bar is pretty straightforward. We've got a 16th note hit on it though. So we're starting off with the basic A minor that you learn on day one of ukulele. So second finger, 4th string, 2nd fret. So we're going to strum that, and then we're going to come up and we're going to play with our ring finger, string 1 twice. Now this has to be a 16th note hit at the end, so we have 1 E and A. So we're hitting on and A for that first beat. 1 and A. Okay, following that up by using our middle finger to play string 2, open, and tap a beat as well. Then we're going to hit that again open after that. So that's the end of 2. Awesome. So you have 1 and a 2 and. So again, it's strum 1 1 0 0. Okay, here we go. Let's see if we can try that together. 3 and 4 and 1 and a 2 and. Awesome. And again, 3 and 4 and strum 1 1 tap O. Okay, after this we're going to F. Think of it as your basic F chord. So all you do is add that index to the 1st fret of string 2. So for this hit, what we're going to do is we're going to be plucking string 3 and 2 together. And then we're going to lift up the index finger and play the open 2nd. So we have 3 and 2 together, open 2nd, and then take that ring finger, put it underneath your middle, so it's the 2nd fret of string 3. We're going to play that note plus tap a beat, and then the open 2nd. So the second half of this bar again is adding the index to make it an F, so we're playing open 3rd plus the 2nd string together. Then lift that index up, play open E, take the ring, drop it underneath the middle, play the 2nd fret of string 3 plus tap, and then open E. Sounds like this. Alright, and as you can see, this is straight 8th notes, so let's see if we can try that together, guys. So here we go. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Awesome. So let's see if we can put this entire bar together. Here we go. 3 and 4 and 1 and a 2 and 3 and 4 and. Okay, let's see if we can slow it down just a touch. 3 and 4 and 1 and a 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now our next bar goes into E7, so probably one that we've played a few times. If not, it's the index on the 1st fret of string 4, middle on the 2nd fret of string 3, ring on the 2nd fret of string 1, and the E string is open. And what makes this tricky and cool is that we're actually tapping. And we're trying to hit those harmonics. So we're doing an artificial harmonic, artificially tapped harmonics. So that means we're going to be targeting our taps to be 12 frets from where we're at. You can hear how that harmonic rings out. So for example, if I get rid of all these fingerings and I just have open strings, then I would be tapping on the 12th fret. And it's always the 2nd metal bar. So you see over the 2nd metal bar. And you get a really cool harmonic sound. If you check out our lesson on Mr. Sandman, the beginning of that was, I used the taps on it and it was wildly popular. It's such a cool thing. Actually, I stole the technique from Eddie Van Halen. So, you know, it's not my technique, it's something that he did, but it works so well for the uke. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a link to some extra lessons for tapped harmonics in the description box below. So if you're new to it and you want to really get a little bit more in-depth detail on how to do it or instruction on how to do it, then check the description box below. But basically what we're going to do is we're going to be tapping that 12th fret from where we're playing. Now, it's going to be really hard to tap 12 frets precisely for this chord because, well, you would have to use 2 fingers and it would be really funky. So we're not really going to do that. We're just going to target basically the 1st and the 4th string to ring out. So that means that when we're tapping down, we want to definitely target that 13th fret for the 1st fret, and we want to target the 14th fret for the 2nd fret. So remember, we have to add 12 to everything that we're doing to create that harmonic. So that's why I pointed out if we have all opens, it's the 12th fret. But if we play the 1st fret, then it becomes the 13th. So right, 12 plus 1. And for the bottom of that E7 chord, we have a 2nd fret. So 12 plus 2 is 14. So when I'm tackling this first hit, what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn my finger a little bit sideways. So I'm definitely going to be targeting that 13th fret of string 4. But I'm also going to just be hitting the 12th fret because that's just how my finger lays out naturally. Right? So this 3rd string really isn't going to ring out. You're going to hear the note ring out as a regular note, but you're only really going to hear the harmonic for string 4. The same thing applies when we go to hit the bottom. We're going to be doing our attack to hit the 14th fret, but you can see how my finger lays flat. It's also going to hit like the 15th fret, which again isn't really going to do anything because the harmonic hit is there. So it's really just going to let the 2nd string ring out. So in essence, what you're hearing is literally the 4th string harmonic and the 1st string harmonic plus the fretted notes in between ring. So again, if you were to really like try to do this to hit everything, I mean, you would have to, let's see, you would have to go like that, and then like that. So it's just too awkward to try and tap all 4 harmonics at the same time. So we're just gonna go targeting 1. So just practice it, you know, it's a little tricky. This was again a technique that I stole from Eddie Van Halen where he's tapping chords. If you go and listen to, what's that song? Dance the Night Away, he taps chords and single note taps as well. And it's just really, really cool. Such a cool technique, but it gives it a little pizzazz in this verse section, makes it pop instead of just going, right? It's a big difference. So that's the key thing. So again, let's recap. The key is that you want to definitely target and hit the harmonic on the 4th and the 1st string. So again, it's the 13th fret for the 4th string and it's the 14th fret for the 1st string. Okay, so those hits are going to happen on the end of 1 and beat 2. So that's another thing that's a little awkward, is that when you're coming in from the first bar, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2. So you're hitting on the end of 1. So that open E that we left off with on the first bar sustains into the 2nd bar, and then your tap is on the end of 1 and beat 2. Now we're going to follow that up with a percussive roll. So we're keeping this chord ringing out, and all we're going to do is we're going to go pinky, ring, 2nd, 1st, and then thumb. So this is all going to happen on the end of 2, and then this tap with our thumb is beat 3. 1 and 2, and that is beat 3. So this one you just want to practice, just rapid fire. It's kind of like when you're in grade school, right? You're like super bored at your desk and you're just sitting there like, is class over? It's the same thing. We can use it and make music out of it, right? So you just want to loop that. Pinky, ring, middle, index, thumb. You can hit the thumb a little bit harder too. It gives it a nice dynamic. So we have and 2. Okay? So that's just something that you want to practice. Now the last part of that bar is going to go the open 2nd, then play the 2nd fret of string 3, which is already held down, and then lift that middle, play the open C. And we're not doing any of the taps for beat 4 for this. So we literally just have open, second fret of string 3, open C. So if I play that entire bar together, I have 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 4 and. So really hard for me to count that one out and play at the same time, but hopefully you guys get the gist of the idea that these hits happen in that time frame of the end of 2. So again, it's one of those things that you just want to get kind of memorize and get that feel of. That'll help you fit into the beat. So let's see if we can try this entire 2 bars together. And again, those taps and stuff, that's something you just got to hit pause and practice on to get down. So here's that first bar and second bar played together. 3 and 4 and 1 and a 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2. Boom, ba do dum. So let's go ahead and take a look at the next part. So remember guys, those 2 bars repeat twice. So same thing. So the next part is where her vocal goes a little bit higher. So really cool stuff. So it sounds like this. Alright, so let's break this one down. So we're starting again with that stock A minor. We're going to go ahead and strum it and do those 16th hits. We have 1 and So again, strum, O. So 1 and Now we're going to follow that up by playing the first string open again, plus tapping a beat. Then take that ring finger, put it on the second fret of string 1, play that note. That gives us the first half of the bar. We have 1 and a 2 and. So strum, O, tap, 2. Alright, so let's look at the second half. So what we're going to do is we're going to keep this ring finger held down on that second fret for just right now. And we're going to add our pinky. So this is going to be beat 3. We're going to add our pinky to the third fret of string 1. We're going to play that note plus the open C together. Then we can lift that pinky up. We're going to play the second fret of string 1. Then we're going to lift that ring finger up. We're going to play the open A plus tap, and then put that ring finger back down, play the second fret. So again, I have 3 and 1 together, second fret, tap plus open A, second fret. Alright, so let's see if we can do that together. We have 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Okay, so now let's see if we can try this entire bar together. Here we go. 3 and 4 and 1 and a 2 and 3 and 4 and. Awesome. Now, as we saw before, the first beat of this next bar we're not playing, but this time we're not sustaining anything, we're just resting. And we're resting because we've got to do a big jump up to catch a higher voicing of an E7. So it's up here. And then we're going to jump all the way back down to the beginning of the neck and play this really cool hammer-on pull-off lick. So let's go ahead and break this down. This higher voicing of E7 is literally the same as a G7 chord, so it's a shape that we all know. If we were to move this shape up the neck again, all the way up to the 11th, 10th, and 11th, then it becomes an E7. We're ignoring string 4, so we're targeting 3 down. So that's middle finger on 11 on string 3, index on 10 on string 2, ring on 11 on string 1. Okay, so for this one, we can do that staccato hit for the first, ba, ba, and we can sustain the second hit. So we have 1 and 2. So remember, we're hitting on the end of 1 and beat 2. 1 and 2. Okay, when we move down, we're going to be tapping on beat 3. So we're tapping on a different beat than 2 and 4. So that's something that's a little odd. 1 and 2, 3. And then we've got the second half of the bar. But before we get to there, let's see if we can do the first half of this bar, and then we'll tackle the second half. So again, don't play on beat 1, hit on beat end of 1. Here we go. 3 and 4 and 1 and 2. Okay, now the second half, again, we're going to be moving our hand down. We're tapping on beat 3, just all by itself. Then take that middle finger, play third fret of string 1. That's going to be the end of 3. Then we've got a 16th note triplet, which is going to be a really quick hammer-on pull-off lick. So this hammer-on pull-off lick is your index finger on the 2nd fret of string 1. We're going to hammer on to 3. We're going to pull off to 2 and pull off to the open A. So again, it's 2, 3, 2, 0. Now all of that has to happen in beat 4. So that's quick. So something you want to practice. If I put that bar together, I have. Okay? If we try the second half together, it's 1 and 2 and 3 and. So real quick stuff, right? Let's see if you and I can try it. 1 and 2 and tap and 2, 3, 2, 0. Now let's see if we can put that entire bar together. Remember, start on the end of 1. 3 and 4 and 1 and 2, 3 and. So tricky things, right? Now if we try those 2 bars together, here we go. 3 and 4 and 1 and a 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2, 3. So very complex. That's why this song is a level 4. There's a lot of technique going on. But again, try and feel that beat. If you can feel it, you can play it. Like if you can sing it, you can play it. Alright, so let's go ahead and look at the last 2 bars for this verse. And it's basically a slight variation of what we played for the first couple bars. This time around, we're doing 8th notes. We're cutting out the 16th note rhythm that was in the beginning. So here's what the last 2 bars sounds like, and then we'll go ahead and break it down. You can see it's just a tiny little variation. Okay, so the first thing that you notice is that it starts with the 8th note, so 1 and, so instead of 1 and we're just doing straight 8th note, so strum 1, then we're following up the rest of the bar the same, tap, O, pluck, O, tap, O, so all that's the same. The only thing that changed is the first hit, 1 and. Okay, then you're back to E7, remember the end of 1 and B2. Then we have the percussive hits. And then we're finishing up with O to O. So all that's the same, so that bar is identical. So only one slight variation actually. And that's it guys, that's the entire verse. So there's a lot to it, but it does have repetition. But the techniques that are involved probably make this section the most difficult out of the entire tune. So it's just one that you want to practice a lot on. Alright, so let's see if we can go through the entire verse, and I'll count it out, and some of those tricky sections are hard for me to count and play at the same time, so we'll just fill that section and see if we can keep that beat steady. Here we go. 3 and 4 and 1 and a 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 4 and 1 and a 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 4 and 1 and a 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 tap ba ba dum 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 4 and. Alright guys, so that's everything for this first lesson. So it's a very challenging tune, probably one of the hardest ones that we've done, but very rewarding once you get it down. So this song was something that I probably practiced about 5 or 6 hours, and honestly I probably could have used another day of practicing because as you saw in the beginning of the video, there were 2 clips, and what happened was when I was recording I rushed the timing on the intro and the first chorus, so my timing kind of fluctuated a lot. So going back and listening, you know, it was like I had gradually kept speeding up a little bit instead of keeping it steady. And you know, timing is something that is difficult for me. It's probably one of the areas that I struggle a lot with, that I put a lot of work towards. And, this song needed to keep a little bit more steady. So I don't want you guys to get frustrated learning this tune because it was difficult for me. So I just want to go ahead and point it out. I'm not a perfect player by any means. We're all learning together. So don't get frustrated with this tune. But learn from your mistakes. Every time I go back and I listen to something, I can say, okay, so you got to work more on your timing, or you got to work more on this thing, or this or that, or whatever. So, it's not about always playing perfect, but it's about learning from your mistakes to continually improve and become a better player. And that's what this lesson and this arrangement is all about. It's about throwing in advanced techniques and challenging yourself and pushing yourself to become a better player. Anyways, guys, if you want to learn the second half of this tune, we're covering that in the part 2 video lesson at rockclass101.com. So you can click this link right here or just go to the site and do a search for Havana. Remember, you can get the tabs that you can print off and follow along with and access that on-screen tab viewer, that really cool feature where you can hit play, watch the tabs scroll across, highlight bars, loop sections. Really, really helpful for this tune, seeing as how difficult it is. So, guys, I hope you enjoyed this lesson, and I will see you in part 2. Thanks.